I would like to thank you for your essay recommendation on competitive authoritarianism. It was very informative. I just wanted your opinions of the new Trump admin in regards to fascism, okay? As socially, I feel Umberto Eco's 14 points of fascism align well with the MAGA movement. I haven't read that in a long time. Okay. Economically, the administration seems to be gradually merging state and corporate power, another defining feature of the system studied by Chip Burlett. It's a little overstated, but okay. I understand this will probably not be a popular question, but I feel that it's an important topic to at least discuss the fascistic characteristics of the movement. Okay, it's been a long time since I've read Umberto Eco's 14 points, and some of those are like, what do you call it? Fascism, fascism. I'm going off of memory here. What were some of them? They were like, the enemy is both weak and strong. There's a whole bunch of shit. I forgot. We can pull them up. Let's pull them up. Umberto Eco, 14 points fascism. Here, this is it. Let me pull this up. First of all, let's take a look here. So there's Umberto Eco. All right. So he writes, 1, the cult of tradition. One only has to look at the syllabus of every fascist movement to find the major traditionalist thinkers. The Nazi gnosis was nourished by traditionalist, syncretistic occult elements. I'm sure I'm saying that. Syncretistic, excuse me. The rejection of modernism, the cult of action for action's sake. Disagreement is treason, for sure. That one's there. Fear of difference, for sure. Appeal to social frustration. One of the most typical features of historical fascism was the appeal to a frustrated middle class, a class suffering from an economic crisis. Okay, but we are. And feelings of political humiliation and frightened by the pressure of lower social groups. The obsession with the plot, that's a big one. The enemy is both strong and weak. There we go. Remember that one. Pacifism is trafficking with the enemy. Okay. Contempt for the weak, for sure. Everybody is educated to become a hero. I forgot about that one. Machismo and weaponry. Machismo implies both disdain for women and intolerance and condemnation of non-standard sexual habits from chastity to homosexuality. I mean, does that sound fucking familiar to anybody? Jesus Christ. And then last but not least, selective populism. This is there is in our future a TV or internet populism in which the emotional response of a selected group of citizens can be presented and accepted as the voice of the people. And then lastly, fascism speaks newspeak. All of the Nazi and fascist schoolbooks made use of an impoverished vocabulary and an elementary syntax in order to limit the instruments for complex and critical reasoning. Okay. I mean, I think you would need a proper academic to really make effective comparisons between exactly what Umberto Eco meant and any kind of political state, ours or others. I feel like I would just be making shit up relative to the requirement to answer this question in an effective and appropriate way. Let me look at how you worded it exactly one more time. I will say that there's been how do I answer this question exactly? I'll say this. The role of president is not CEO, which should be obvious. It is not king. It is an executive authority. It is a co-equal branch of government. It is defined explicitly about what they can and cannot do. And some of those have to be adjudicated by the courts, obviously, whenever there is any kind of dispute. But it is a limited known function. And there are, at least in theory, all kinds of guardrails around it, how many times you can be it, for how long, what kinds of authority you have and don't. And listen, obviously the Trump administration, to the extent they're having disputes over Doge or USAID funding, they're fighting it out in the courts. They just lost in the Supreme Court 5-4 over a relatively small one about continuing funding that was already appropriated in a more limited way. But, they're at least going through the court system, and then it seems for now honoring that. And, that is obviously not but that by itself does not lend much credibility to the notion, again, in an isolated way. That by itself, to the extent that they're relying on the courts for adjudication of dispute, is by itself, is not fascism. The competitive authoritarianism, though, is the one that's more interesting. There's been reporting already that you're seeing college presidents fearful of speaking out for losing any particular funding, people at various public-facing jobs, CEOs of high-powered Fortune 500 companies, scared of saying things because they're cowed into silence for fear of retribution, for a weaponized IRS, for a weaponized Department of Justice, for bringing everything, by the way, they were independent agencies and then into the executive authority. Trump doesn't view the president, as it is laid out in the Constitution and it's an executive function, as what he wants to do. He wants to be able to just be the boss, and what he says goes. And that's just not what the president does. That's not who the president is. And again, I know when I say this, there's going to be people saying, well, didn't Biden do some stuff that was, for example, the student loan thing, student loan relief that was shot down by the courts? Wasn't that an example of executive overreach? Yes. I mean, I guess according to the courts, yes, it was. Or you can go on down the list where, by the way, tariffs aren't even supposed to be part of the executive authority, and that has been going back long before Trump. So that's hardly his own doing. But if you haven't seen this essay on competitive authoritarianism, that seems to be, I think we're already there. Full on fascism, I think, is a argument I'm not really capable of making at the present moment. Not to say that others couldn't. I'm saying I am incapable of making, in conjunction with Umberto Eco's list of 14 characteristics of fascism. That's above my pay grade from an academic standpoint. But what I would say is, it is quite obvious that what Trump is trying to do is whatever he wants, and then for now he is being constrained by the courts, and I guess we'll see what happens with Congress going forward. But it is very clear he does not view the limits on executive authority as things that adhere to him or that should apply to him. And by the way, it's so funny. Every time I say something like this, I get two responses from Trump supporters. One is, hell yeah, what we want is a king. Fuck y'all. And then the other group accuses me of having Trump derangement syndrome. It's exactly that. Once I'll be like, yeah, Trump doesn't like the limits on executive authority. He wants to just say whatever he wants to do whatever he wants. And then I'll get every time I'll get supporters being like, yeah, fuck y'all. That's exactly what he wants. Eat it, libs. Eat shit. And then the other side is, of course he would never do something like that. You have Trump derangement syndrome. And I'm like, guys, I think y'all need to talk to each other a little bit more. Someone's asking, what's the feeling in the U.S.? This person's European, about Trump launching multiple trade wars during a cost of living crisis. Well, he walked them both back today. Did y'all see that? He basically, I don't know if he got rid of the Chinese 10% one, but the Canada and 99% of everything flows through the existing trade agreement that, by the way, he was the one that developed, and he was going to put 25% tariffs on everything through that agreement, and then now he's pausing it till April 2nd. So, I don't quite understand why he wants to take the economy, but there are different theories about that.